Joined here today by Congressman Steve King. Glad to have you here back in Spencer. And Congressman, first of all, how are things going in Washington?
Well, I wouldn't say they wouldn't represent it as being devoid of burden or responsibilities, and it has been a bit of a difficult last half a year. There have been a number of things that took place there that I certainly disagreed with. We passed a budget that broke the sequestration numbers and just essentially guaranteed when the House and the Senate agreed on a budget that there would be more spending than there would have been if we'd have stuck with the sequestration numbers. Then passed an omnibus spending bill, which increased spending unnecessarily by about $45 billion, and the promise that there would be cuts later on in the 11th and 12th year. We know how that works out. And then the House, just in the last week and a half or so, passed a debt ceiling increase, as in the Senate also, and sent it to the President. The debt ceiling increase just simply opens the door up for actually technically no limit up until only a date, March, I believe it's 15th of next year. So we will see the debt ceiling go over $18 trillion before there's another vote. There's no leverage in the House any longer to try to bring some spending restraints in place. But we did pass a farm bill, and we'll talk about that some here in Spencer today. I think on balance, it's good for our grain producers. There'll be stability there, and it's a very good thing. The livestock producers should have been treated better, but it was important to have 5 years of predictability. And people should remember that 80% of the farm bill goes to nutrition. We got some cuts in that out-of-control program, not enough. But on balance, it's better to have the predictability than it was not. And I voted for the farm bill, even though the process left something to be desired.
Well, let's talk about one of your favorite topics, Obamacare. I was sitting down with a tax specialist yesterday who, like yourself, is not a big fan of the program, but did say he thinks at this point, because so much money has been invested in it in terms of hospital expenditures to get their records and things up to date, that he unfortunately thinks it's too late to turn back on that. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I would disagree. And the investment in hospital records, if we can provide the security that's necessary, that's a function of moving into the modern world. And we all, I think, agree that we need to have a better set of records. And if your records only exist on paper, and they only exist on paper in one or two places, and you find yourself, say, in Phoenix or Miami, and you need hospital care, it's important to have an encrypted, secure record database so that those records can be exchanged quickly, and it reduces the mistakes. And so I think that's moving things into the modern world in the right direction. But there's a whole lot of Obamacare that is far too costly for us to be willing to submit to it for the long term. And I'll just say this, that I believe when it's all said and done, however long it takes for the implementation of Obamacare, if that all does go forward. And by the way, the president is delaying the implementation. It's not Republicans that are delaying it effectively. It's the president by unilaterally changing the law, and it's unconstitutional for him to do so. But of all those pieces that are implemented, we've seen millions of people who have lost their insurance coverage, who have lost their doctor. People like, and I'll just say, I can speak from my own personal experience, and I'm commanded by law to be under Obamacare. Now, if anybody in America was going to find a way out of it, it was going to be Steve King. I have fought this for everyone else, and it really didn't occur to me until last October that it was an imposition on my own health insurance, because I was actually focused on everybody else's. But in any case, when the president said there needs to be more competition and you'll be able to choose from these policies, and you go on the internet and select, there were 112 policies that were offered altogether, but of them, only one of them actually would work for me. So the choice I had was from one policy. So, I've lost my health insurance. I have to have a new policy. My premium went up out of my pocket. Let's see, it is $4,426 a year more, and my deductible has tripled. That experience isn't unique. That experience reflects proportionally a lot that's happened to Americans. So in the end, it looks to me that there will be fewer Americans insured rather than more, unless you include increased Medicaid numbers. And we know that Americans are losing their doctors, they're losing care, that's worth trillions of dollars to us over the long term, is for people to have a health insurance policy that they can afford, one that serves their needs, one that they choose, not one that the government picks for them, and one that will allow them to use the doctors and the providers that they agree to. Those things essentially are all gone under Obamacare, and putting them back together and giving people portability, letting companies sell insurance across state lines, providing 100% full deductibility for everybody's health insurance premium, and denying the bailout for insurance companies. Those, and by the way, eliminating the 30-hour work week, which is supposed to qualify for full-time, it needs to go back to 40. These are changes that I think we have a chance to leverage through between now and the next president. When the next president comes, I'm hopeful, and I'll continue to work, that we'll get a president that will sign the full repeal. I still want to rip it all out by the roots as if it had never existed, and I think the country's better off, and it's still going to take a while to fix our healthcare system in this country.